Thanks again for tuning into Moonshine Gaming. Have you ever wondered how to replace your Game Boy Color speaker? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that very easily. Now, we are going to need a few things before getting started. We're going to need, obviously, the replacement battery. We're going to need a tri-wing screwdriver. Now, this is a video game specific tool that's going to allow us to actually open up the Game Boy, and it's different than normal screwdrivers. It only has 3 slots instead of 4, and a lot of video game consoles and games and stuff, you need this actual screwdriver to take the screws out. You can get these in packs with a couple other video game tools that allow you to open pretty much all systems and cartridges, and the other tools can also come in handy if you're wanting to open up video game cartridges just to check if they're real or not. You'll also need a Phillips screwdriver. The tri-wing screwdriver will take the screws out of the actual shell to open the Game Boy, but there are a few screws on the motherboard that you'll need to take out that are Phillips. I've added links to all this stuff in the description below if you don't own it. The batteries run for about $5 each. You can get them in packs of 2 for $10. The soldering iron is about 20 bucks, and then the pack of all the video game tools is also about 20 bucks. So yeah, if you need them, you can check the links in the description below. So one quick thing I want to note before actually fixing the speaker is that you're obviously going to want to test your Game Boy. So pop some batteries in, make sure it works. You can see it turns on. No volume coming into the speaker at the moment. But what you do want to do is you want to make sure it's not something internal, and you want to make sure it's the actual speaker. And how you can do this is there is a headphone jack on the bottom of the Game Boy. You can plug a set of headphones in here, and you can see if there's volume coming out of the headphones. And you can hear that there is. So because you're getting volume through the headphones, you know that it's not an internal problem, and you know that it's an issue with the speaker. So now, after testing that, we can get into fixing the actual speaker. Alright, first things first, we're going to need to take these screws out of the back of the Game Boy. There's 2 at the top, 2 in the middle, and 2 behind the battery compartment. You're going to use your tri-wing screwdriver for this. And once we take that off, the back cover should come right off. Now just make sure you don't lose any of these screws. They are pretty small, so put them in a safe place. Next up, you can see the speaker is here at the bottom left. It's kind of hidden behind the motherboard, so we'll have to take the motherboard off. And there are 3 screws on the motherboard. 1, 2, 3. And you take these off with a Phillips screwdriver. So we'll take those off quick. And once we get those off, you can see the motherboard has come right off the front cover of the Game Boy. Now some people take that top ribbon off when replacing the speaker, but I find it's fine to just do it with it still attached. It's kind of finicky to take off and put back on, so I just leave it on. So you can just lift it up there and then pull the speaker out from underneath. And we'll pull that out a little bit here, and there are 2 solder joints on this speaker that we're going to have to remove, 1 and 2. So we'll grab our iron, make sure it's heated up, and once you touch those solders, the wires will just come loose. So just do that for both solders, and you just want to touch just the solder with the tip of the iron, and the speaker will come right off. Here's the old broken speaker. Poor guy. Get rid of that. Now we'll grab our solder. And here's the new speaker. You can see there's also 2 solder joints on here. They're a little bit closer together than the old one. So that's what we'll be attaching the wires to, is those 2 solder points. Now I'm just going to pull out a little bit of solder here and get a little bit of solder on the tip of the iron first. Not too much, just a little bit. Also, make sure that your soldering iron is up off the table, because you don't want it to be touching the table. Could burn something. I like to use the back cover as a little platform for the speaker here. It's almost at the perfect level, so it works out pretty well. So just straighten out that first wire, get her lined up to the first soldering point. Get your solder in one hand, iron in the other, and you want to put the solder right on the solder point and right on the tip of the wire there. And then apply pressure with the soldering iron. There we go. And then I'll straighten out this second wire, get her lined up to the second soldering point. This one's being kind of weird. Come on. There we go. Again, get your solder out. I just touch it with the tip here to just kind of lock it in place a little bit. And then get the solder out. Apply a little bit of pressure to the solder and the soldering point with the iron. And there we go. We see, yeah, nice bubbles there. Good solder. Nice. Alright, now we just need to tuck the speaker back underneath the motherboard before we screw it back in. And you are going to have to bend the wires a little bit, but just make sure the bends aren't right on the solder and also right on where it attaches to the motherboard. Try and make the bends a little bit further into the wiring. And there we go. Now just once you put it in there, you're going to want to check for clearance here. Make sure the wires aren't popping the motherboard up off of the casing before you screw it in, because you don't want to be squishing the wires. And screw this back in with the Phillips. Then gotta put the case back on, and then it's just putting those 6 screws back in with the tri-wing screwdriver. And we're pretty much set. Now when you're soldering, it does produce a little bit of smoke, so if you have a garage, might be a good idea to do it in the garage, but it's not too much smoke. I did it inside, but just make sure you're in a relatively well ventilated area. And there we go, that's it. All back together again, and let's test it out. Check the volume control. Volume control is all good, and we have ourselves a working Game Boy. Game Boy Color, you idiot. Game Boy Color. And that's going to do it. As you can see, it's really not too hard to fix your Game Boy speaker, so we hope we were able to help you out with that. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to Moonshine Gaming for lots of awesome video game content. We'll see you next time. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this one, you might like these.